background in photography before making the Bang Bang Club was not non-existent. I used to take photographs when I was a lot younger. And then as I became interested in filmmaking, it was much less about photography and far more about film. So I would run around with a little video camera.
I'm one of those people who can just sit down forever and just page through books with photographs and stuff. I get lost in that world. So I was more a consumer of photographs as opposed to a producer of photographs. But my wife's a photographer, so I've always enjoyed watching her work and doing that sort of thing. And being an actor, I've always been on this side of the camera. But I will say though that having done the Bang Bang Club, it's piqued my interest in photography, and I do think I'm a little bit of a closet photographer.
How did you research your role as photographer in the movie?
Specifically photography, I think what helped me was just reading their story. Just reading the story about how do photographers operate, how do they think, how do they speak, how do they observe things. And then secondly was I looked at all Ken's photographs because I wanted to see how does he see the world in a moment. And that definitely helped me just with the psyche of Ken and what does he look at, what does he think is beautiful, how does he frame something.
Well, obviously did a lot of reading, read the Bang Bang Club, several times, actually read it when I was in varsity in the late 90s. And then when I got the part, obviously started highlighting moments that sort of stood out for me, and what really helped me though was Zhao. I mean, I met him a couple of weeks before that, and he showed me, how to make the shot, how to shoot, how to keep low, how to, get that photographers, or specifically war photographers, mentality into your head. The technical side of figuring out the f-stop and how that works and putting on the lenses, and it was actually quite cool. It's like your weapon. It's the only thing you can shoot with in a war situation, so it needs to be your baby. It needs to be looked after.
Is there a photographer that you admire? Who is it and why?
Yes, I really enjoy Ken Oosterbroek's photographs, and it's not just because I portrayed Ken in the movie. I think there were three specific things that I noticed and just in my research is that he was a really good sports photographer. Like he had an anticipation for action and stuff like that. So and that reflected in the sports photography. Then the other aspect was obviously the photography he did in the townships and the violence and the combat stuff. But what was fascinating to me about Ken was that what's haunting for me about his photographs, even when there are these violent, hectic photographs, there's a sense of beauty about them. He was an artist, and that's the third aspect of his photography that attracted me, was there was a real artistry in what he did.
Photographer that I admire would be, it's slightly biased, but it's the guy that I played. It's a man called João Silva. I think his photography is absolutely phenomenal, but as a person too, I mean, I had the privilege to work with him very closely and meet him, and he became like one of my friends. So he is amazing. I mean, the stuff he got himself into, the positions he got himself into and out of, I admire that a lot. But he's just a great guy, and he takes great pictures, and it was an absolute honor playing him.
The photograph that I think I love the most in the film is, I think, Kevin's photograph. But yet the photograph that I bought for myself from Greg and Zhao is a photograph that Zhao took the day after the Boipatong massacre. And it's a photograph of a street, a tree-lined street in Boipatong. And it's nothing but the street and there's mist on the street. And I bought that because I know when it was taken, and for me there is something very moving about that photograph.
I think a lot of people forget is that there was actually someone taking that picture, and what they usually had to do was just get really close to get that perspective, like right next to where the guy was, there's blood on them and on their lenses. I mean, extremely close.
Of the movie, The Bang Bang Club, what message do you think the movie sends to aspiring photojournalists worldwide?
I think it will give them a sense of history, but mainly to know where we come from, and they should respect the calm, the peace that we live in, because we are from a very dangerous era.
Now, you've been using Nikon all your life. You've
Yes,
been a photographer all your life.
I have
You
been.
trust Nikon. Why is that?
It's a very good camera, but above everything else, durability. I was using it in very rough situation. I could drop the camera, pick it up and use it. When I tried other cameras, they fell apart. So I got stuck to Nikon.